Is it playing the intro? All right. Hello, Facebook. How's it going?
Hello.
We are live. We're glad to be here with you. Let's
Welcome to Marriage Refresh.
welcome to Marriage Refresh TV at that. So,
Oh, TV.
Marriage Refresh TV. So we just making sure we doing some stuff. What in the world is this going now? Okay. So we're just doing a couple of things. We're making sure we're good to go. We are glad that you were able to join us today, and man, it's an awesome time. It's an awesome time. So, trying to just make sure everything is it coming live? Is it coming live? What? Yes. Yes. So
We're live.
we're live. So we got our new producer today. Our other producer is out.
Our fill-in.
Our fill-in. So well, yeah. Just want to make sure we got our sound levels right. Refresh TV.
And I said, honey, did you cut the sound down on that thing?
No, I intentionally left the sound up
Oh.
so I could check on a couple of things. So so we are getting ready to get into this episode today on Marriage Refresh TV, and we are talking about marriage. We're just having a marriage chit chat, and tonight's topic is marriage still worth it? Is marriage still worth it? So we're going to get in there. I think we have quite a few interesting perspectives. I think we're going to hit it. We're going to hit it on both sides. I know my wife during our pre-production show, if you will, had some things that she was talking about, or she's like on one of the things. Well, you know how I'm going to respond, and I'm like, no. I said, keep it to yourself.
I didn't say it like that though.
Okay, she ain't
I
say
just
it like
said,
that.
you know what my answer is going to be.
You know my answer is what she told me. She's right. She said,
Okay.
you know my answer. I said, okay, honey, just hold. Well, what are you going to say? I said, you'll find out on the air. Well, you know my answer because if you know me and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, as my daughter like to say, da-da-da-da-da-da. And so I was like, yeah, okay, well, just keep it for the show because that just makes for a much more interesting discussion because maybe we come from the same place. Maybe we don't come from the same place. Who knows? Um, and so let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. Come on. I'm telling you, technology is fighting me. We almost got this thing perfected, I promise you. So we tonight we want to have a marriage chit chat and we're going to get into is marriage still worth it. You want to hang around for this because we are going to hit some very interesting things in my opinion, because one of the things we're going to hit on is in round one, I didn't work this hard just to get married. Successful single women speak out. We're going to talk about that. That's going to be interesting. And then we're going to hit a topic called in round two. And round two is why men don't get married. Is it simple logic? So we're going to hit some on that I think is going to be intriguing and different, and hopefully that people will embrace and listen to. So we got to
not be offended.
And not be offended. Well, I'm pretty sure this episode somewhere along the line I'm going to offend somebody. I think that might be a possibility. I'm not trying to offend you, but just know that offense is a possibility. So, if
and it
you
is also a choice.
it is also a choice if you choose to get offended. Okay. And then in round three, we're going to hit why men don't date women with children. the real reason. And this is a conversation me and my wife was having, and it's just an epiphany to me one day. And I started sharing it, and my wife, I think she said she could kind of understand it, see it, and we'll go from there. And then our parting shots is going to wrap up with what the actual episode started with, which is it time to give up on marriage? Is it time to give up on marriage, which ties back into. So all of this episode is about, is marriage worth it? And we're going to go ahead and jump into round one. Oh, I forgot. We're going to close out with Ask Marriage Refresh. You don't want to miss this question, because this question is about religion and relationship, not religion and relationship between man and God, but religion and relationship between the two. What happens when religion conflicts in marriage? So we're going to get into that, and so that's going to be our Ask Marriage Refresh. We received that question in, so we're going to jump in to our first topic here, and tonight we are going to go ahead and just get in it. And this first one is really good. A friend of mine sent this to me, shared this with me, and I was just reading the title, and I forget the sister's name. It's Nicole. What's her name? Nicole Nika C. Beeman. Nika C. Beeman. And I'll be full disclosure, I have not read the book. I just read some of the beginning. And the title is definitely an eye grabber. I think I owe it to Miss Binman to read the book. Beeman to read the book. I'm sorry. I think I owe it to Miss Beeman to read the book in its entirety. So I definitely will do that, or at least put it on audiobook to see what the perspective is. But I didn't work this hard just to get married. Successful Black women speak out. Now, I want to read you a little excerpt about what the book is about. Okay. It said, women once saw living single as a transitional period. Singles marked time till they found the one. But now marriage is a transitional stage connecting one unmarried period of life to another. I didn't work this hard just to get married. Through lively and revealing interviews with women from various walks of life, Nika C. Beeman explores the challenges facing single Black women who defy expectations. They candidly discuss aging without a man and reevaluating dating, single home ownership, career, children, and caring for aged parents. The book speaks directly to the Black woman's experience, addressing challenges such as income discrepancies between gender, the high rate of male incarceration, and the baby mama syndrome. I missed that one when I was reading earlier, the baby mama syndrome. Okay, written in the best tradition of women talking to women and girlfriend to girlfriend, the book delivers tales of lessons learned, hard times and good times, told by women who found ways to achieve their dreams by defying convention. Now, I don't know exactly when this book was written, because I actually came across this title maybe a year ago. And the question, my first thing when I saw it again was, is she married? And I'd be interested in that. Maybe when she wrote this, she wasn't married, and now she is married. Does any of her perspective on this change? And to a certain degree, I think the journey maybe doesn't change, but some of the conclusions, again, I have not read the book. Maybe some of the conclusions do change. So, you want to start off with this, honey?
No, you can go ahead.
Why I got to start off? Oh, okay. Well,
You said it jumped out at you.
It jumped out at me. The reason it jumped out at me is because it is the age-old battle, struggle thing that I think goes on and on and on about, particularly for Black women, that one, they can't find a man to match them. So I think we get into the whole intellect discussion, and more than that, the earning potential discussion. And I'm reminded of the situation where the movie with Tyler Perry, Daddy's Little Girl, and how Gabrielle almost overlooked the guy who was the driver because he didn't match her. He didn't match her. But what she needed emotionally to care for her heart, he had. And so he was willing to try and pull his weight. It looks like he wasn't just some guy sitting on the couch wanting to play video games and this, but he had, whatever he had going on.
Right.
So um, that was an interesting situation. That was a very interesting situation. So when I look at this, I think that this book continues to perpetuate, potentially, again, disclaimer, I have not read the book. So after I finish listening to this book, I may come back and like, man, I got it wrong, or maybe I got it right. I'll let you know. But when I look at it, what jumps out at me is that whole competitor versus completer thing. And I'm not saying a woman or a man, for that matter, doesn't want to have someone that matches them. But I think that you can get it. What this reeks when I talk in men's circles, and give you a peek inside of men's circles, what this reeks of is there are no good black men left that match me, and almost a superiority type thing. And so men don't feel like they can compete with it.
I think it's what you're trying to match. And earlier I was listening a little bit to Fantasia and her husband were on IG, and I was listening to them a little bit because, of course, she mentioned the thing a lot of times women overlook, good men because you're worried about the credit score and the money and the job and I guess the matching you're talking about. I think the main things you definitely should want to match or look at is character and things like that. Caring, consideration. Is he considerate? And things like that. Not to say you don't want to know something about the other things or you don't have a conversation about them to see where they're going, that potential emotion type of thing that we talk about a lot, just to see where he is, and where he's willing to go. Do we match in ideas and wanting to grow, or putting things together and, trusting each other with certain things. So I think that's the matching part that really matters at the end of the day.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see.
Because if I'm just solely basing that, if his credit score matches mine, his job or his income, and things like that throughout marriage and relationships, so much changes.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, you could start out that way and not end up that way,
Right.
because things happen. Life, it's called life, and life happens. And when it happens, are you married or you're so focused on still the score and the job and the matching financially and all of those things, do we mentally connect, emotionally connect,
Right.
matching those type of things.
Right.
So it's everything. It's not just one or two things.
I agree, and I think that absolutely happens because what you're matching, how you're matching, is very, very important. Those intangible. Do you match on the intangible things? Because anyone can go to school for the most part and pick up. I was listening to one guy, and he was really inspiring to me because he talks about, and he's from Liberty City, grew up in Miami. He was labeled retarded, slow, put through special ed, all of these type of things. And he was talking about that. And so as he was talking through his story, and he's a motivational speaker now, corporations pay him to come in and pay him thousands of dollars to speak and motivate their staff and different things. And he's now this motivational speaker, but he had all of these labels on him. And I think he said, except for one teacher believed in him and challenged him to break loose of the labels. And by challenging him to break loose of the labels, like he shook every label that was, and he's like this great, very successful guy. And like this to hear his story. But if I look at him in the beginning, I imagine a woman looking at it, he doesn't match, right? And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong,
right?
He had to put forth effort, so you want to see that potential in motion. But you get into that situation where like, oh, he doesn't match me, that you could miss out on that person, that diamond in the rough,
right?
And I know I can hear the women. I don't know why I got like this sixth sense. Oh, that's just one story out of a million. But this lady, I don't know if y'all can handle her because she get a little terse with her tongue time to time. But her name's Shamika Michelle, and it's called Naked Girls television, and she go in. But she raised a very important question that I think some black women would bristle at.
Mm.
And she's a black woman, and she said that, and I'm going to say it, she said that feminism was never really meant for black women, and what feminism did. And she wasn't saying that being proud of being a woman in
Right.
all of its glory and all of the things, the intelligence, all of that, not the barefoot, stay home, pregnant, whatever.
Right.
She said, in being a woman, yes, you should embrace that. She says, but the feminist movement was never constructed. It was end up being a detriment to black women. You have to go listen to how she says it. It's
Mm-hmm.
from a woman's perspective, and she breaks it down. Then there's another young lady I came across, and they both kind of said the same thing. It's like it may have been a detriment. The hey, be proud to be a woman and embrace your femininity and your womanhood. Yes, but the disrespectful parts, even some
Right.
hardcore feminists, and I forget what Deshae is, a documentary she had us watch or something. Um, Man, I can't think of it. It was very good. I watched it, but is that it kind of hurt women, particularly black women, and that black women really started to abandon their men behind the feminist movement, yada yada yada. And that, to me, I think men have a large role to play in that,
Mm-hmm.
in how we abuse women and submission and whatever you want to call it. I think there is a lot that men mishandled for sure, and we
Right.
own that and should own that.
Right.
But I think that I wonder if we're taking it the right way, if we're really making the progress we need to, and if we're hurting each other in the process.
Right. I think a lot of times we do, and then what we fail to do as women, um, and this is just for me, um, just not knowing who we truly are and our worth, not based on society and people, and even like our culture or color or race, but who God says I am. And
Hmm.
when I learn the importance of who I am and the influencer that I am and who He truly made me to be at the end of the day, and being content with that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then knowing, a lot of people hate these words, your place or your role, which I have no qualms about because I know who I am.
Hmm.
Then I think you can move past that and see that for what it is. And I mean, I get it, but
Hmm.
that doesn't have to be you, or that doesn't have to be me. Or
Right.
because I think when you're in those, when you're doing those kind of things, or part of those movements, you're trying to prove something. And when you
Right.
truly know who you are, you're not trying to prove anything. So I
Right.
don't have to prove,
Right.
that I'm better than you, that
Hmm.
I can do the job better than you, I need to make more money than you, and things like that. Not to say again that women don't get some of the things that they work hard for with
Hmm.
the equal pay and things like that. I get it,
Right.
I understand it. But the fighting and the trying to always prove who you are, at the end of the day, I just don't think you need to do that when you truly know who you are and you're content with that.
Right. And I think that I think that there's definitely a disparity in pay, for sure. There's
Mm.
no doubt about that. To me, if a woman walks in and a man walks in and they're both equally qualified for the job, they both have the skill sets, the experience, and you hire the woman, you can't say, well, I hired her and I'm going to pay her, $10,000 less than if I would have hired the man, all
Right.
things being equal. And I'm talking about objectively equal, not subjectively equal. I don't think that a woman, in order to get certain positions, should have to put down the fact that she's a mother. She needs to understand, stepping into
Right.
certain roles, you're going to have to invest more time, invest more thing. There's going to be a higher demand, and how that has an impact on your family. Just like a father
Right.
should have those same concerns and things.
Mm-hmm.
Think about things. I can remember when I had a chance to relocate to either DC or Columbia, South Carolina. I
Mm-hmm.
had to think about my family. I couldn't just say, hey, it's a good job for me, but what if you couldn't find a job there?
Right.
Or, you couldn't go to work immediately because you want to get the family stuff. All of that has to play in. I don't get to just make that decision alone because it's good for me.
Right.
It has to be good for the family. So,
Mm-hmm. There again, consideration.
consideration.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's all I really want to say on this, is that I think that yes, go get your degree. Yes, go be a boss. Go do the things that you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, succeed and achieve. But the title of this book, again, I have not read the whole book. I didn't come work this hard just to get married. I think there could be some tongue in cheek there, meaning I didn't work this hard just so I could get married, or I didn't work this hard and gonna get married and have to surrender anything. It is, you could take it a couple of different ways. I look forward to reading the book, listening to the book, and
It's
giving you an
all
update.
about perspective and attitude and how you look at it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so you ready to get into round two?
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into round two. So round two, let's see. Let's make sure we got everything going. So round two, why men
Don't get
married. I want to talk about, is it simple logic?
Yeah, is it?
Is it simple logic? I'm going to read something to you, and I want to see how you pick this up, how you take this. It says, what exactly, this was written by someone, I'm going to skip the name. What exactly does marriage offer men today? Men know there's a good chance they'll lose their friends, their respect, their space, their sex life, their money, and if all goes wrong, their family. There's an author, and I'll mention the name in a moment, who wrote the book Men on Strike. They continue to say they don't want to enter into a legal contract with someone who could effectively take half of their savings, pension, and property when the honeymoon period is over. Men aren't wimping out by staying unmarried, by being committed or being commitment phobes. They're being smart. Now, someone would probably listen to that and say a man wrote it. But it was written by Dr. Helen Smith, PhD, and she's the author of the book, Men on Strike. Now, why don't men really want to get married? I think this ties right back to number one. So let me talk to you what I hear. I could be wrong. Me and the brothers may be wrong. The brothers I talk to may be wrong. Okay. We didn't read the book that you see behind us, 7 effing reasons why men don't get married. But I also want to listen to that one too, maybe if it's an audio book, because the title grabs you.
Right.
But so let me tell you what, man, Helen hits the nail on the head to a degree. What Helen is saying is, when you go to the woman from round one who has equal earning potential, right? She's on the same level with her man. Now you walk into the marriage, this man is saying, we're on equal footing. But if things go south, I'm going to end up paying the lion's share. It does not matter. I've heard from some people who deal with different divorce and different things like that, divorce proceedings, where they're saying that there are women who legitimately, this is the underlying thing of why I don't think that women understand what they're getting into. I think that men are looking at it and they're like, I'm not doing that. I can get everything I want without having to get married and not have to bear all this risk. That they're hearing like women who are earning more, and then the man come in. I know everybody gonna run to the sympathetic Mary J. Blige, yes, Burgess. They gonna run to your girl, Mary J. Blige, and run to her situation. But let's just talk about normal people. But there are women who are making more money than their husbands, and then they get a divorce, and they're expecting, oh well, he gonna pay me child support and alimony, and just like, no, actually, that's gonna probably go the other way around. And they cannot believe that money is being taken from them. And it's like, now the shoe is on the other foot. And it's like, I can't believe that. That's not fair. And have actively said, but he's the man. Hold on. Once you got that degree and start stepping into that arena, and you should get that degree and step into that arena, understand what comes with it. And so I've even heard women say, well, and I'll go to the Mary J thing, and people say, well, he was wrong. He did, from what I can sound like the guy was crook, gold digger, whatever. But you know how many men have been in that situation where they married the woman, they had the money, didn't get the prenup, married for love, and then got took to the washer or whatever? It's happened. Welcome to a man's world. Welcome to a man's world. But this little blip by Dr. Helen Smith is saying that men are not getting married because they don't want to get married, they're making a business, and it shouldn't be this way. They're making a business decision. And when they look at it as a business decision, they're saying, this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for me. Right? So when they're making a business decision, they're saying, this is not a good business decision for me. So now, if it's not a good business decision for him, he's saying, no, I'm not going to approach it. So that's why men and consequently, that's why some men won't get divorced.
Yeah, that's true.
So, anything you want to add to this, honey?
No, not really. Besides them having a lot of options, and I don't know why they don't get married.
I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree.
It's a business decision.
Right. I don't think it should be.
It shouldn't be a business
I don't
decision.
think it should be.
But it's a business decision. It has become a business decision to men whether to get married or not.
To be or not to be.
To marry or not to marry. Absolutely. Did you turn off the AC in here before we got in here?
I did.
I bet you did, because I'm burning up. I promise you. Y'all forgive me. Okay. All right. No. I'm good. I'm being over dramatic right now. So men are not getting married because it's a business decision. And really, and I've even heard this, and we'll move on, that some women who make more money, but they expect, hey, he need to match me because when I come in, he need to still carry the house. My money is my money. His money is our money, is kind of the mindset, which again, men recognizing that, saying, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this, because if you earning and I'm earning, then we should work together to support this. Not I get to do whatever I want to do with my money, personal money, this, and that. And so they're really looking at it. Men are being logical, and they're making business decisions.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Miss Rich has been rendered silent. Okay.
I mean, it is something to talk about, once you get married or you're headed down that road when you're dating or in your courtship. But yeah.
All right. So let's get to round three. We almost done. I promise you. And listen, you do not want to miss our Ask Marriage Refresh question. Please hang on to the end, because it has to do with relationship. And religion. Our relationships and our religions, our beliefs. Yes. Oh, why? Yeah. So let me see what's going on here. There it is. All right.
It just went to sleep.
So, relationships and religion. I promise you want to get this Ask Marriage Refresh. This question is a great question, and we're going to answer it live on air. Okay, so let's get it. So, round 3. Why men don't date women with children? The real reason. And we were having this conversation. I don't know. My wife might just not talk tonight. She might not talk tonight.
What's the real reason?
I'm getting into the real reason. Listen, I know a lot of times it's perceived that men, this just came to me in epiphany. I was sharing this with you. And I was thinking through some stuff. I know a lot of time it's perceived. I see a good question here. I'm going to come back to you, Prophetess Thrower. I want to ask this question on air for sure. There's I want to ask so here's the thing. So here's 2 reasons. Here's the epiphany. I think it's typically perceived that men don't marry women that have children because they don't want the responsibility of the children and that and this. But let me tell you the real reason why men don't typically like to date women with children. It's 2 reasons. One, right? And they both have to do with you, ladies. They both have to do with you. Yes, they both have to do with you. Number 1, he's going to gauge the relationship that you have with the father of your children. And if there's more than one father of the children, he is going to evaluate, does he feel like putting up with that? And depending on the type of father with the children you have, is going to say a lot about whether he will. If he is a strong man and the father of the children, a strong man who's there and supportive of his children, he may bow out because he feels like there will come some conflict between him and the father of the children. He's concerned about how that dynamic's going to work. But if he has a guy that's involved in his children's, if he has a guy that's not involved in the children's life, but is full of drama, he ain't want that either. But if he happens to find out that the father of the children is a decent dude that he can interact with, that he can collaborate with about the children, he is more entitled to give a woman with a child a chance. But if you have a child with more than one father, that man is going to be, I'm not that he won't, he's going to be reluctant, he's going to gauge it. So I was raised by my father, I call him my father, Patrick Donald. My dad wasn't really in my life. I don't know how much that played into his decision or not. And later in life, I found out that my dad somewhat made that decision because he didn't want to taint me. So degree, he wanted to give me a chance to survive, and he thought that he wasn't the right person to do it. Those are just conversations me and my dad got a chance to have.
Like how some people give their kids up for adoption.
Yeah. Later on, right? And we developed a relationship later on in life. But one, it's the daddy. How he's gonna, so y'all talk about baby mama drama syndrome. Listen, that exists the other way around. See, the thing is, for women, y'all will give us a chance with it. A man just like he interact a little bit, and I ain't with that. And especially if you are always complaining about the father of the children, he definitely gonna go because he can see drama on that a mile away. Now, here's the other reason that men don't like to date women with children, because of you. So it's how you manage both relationships. How you manage the relationship, how you're going to manage the relationship between him and the other children.
Right.
He's going to be concerned about that because if you walk in with a mentality of these my children and you can't say nothing to them, he's not going to feel like, well, I'm in the house and I don't have a level of respect.
Right.
So he's not going to want to even engage in that situation because he's like, nah, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm good, because you're going to allow the children to disrespect me and I can't say anything to them. I can't discipline them, and then you undercut me or whatever. I can't tell you. I wish I could get some of the women that would be willing to actually come on the show and talk about this. I can't tell you the number of women who have been in that situation and the man took the chance and he was there and they did exactly what I'm talking about. And in hindsight, they said, I wish I would have let their stepfather deal with them, particularly when it comes to boys, deal with them more as a father and stop being that buffer in between. And I can tell you, for me, my dad, my stepdad, he is. Let me just clear this out the way so y'all know. If you hear me talk about my dad, that's my biological dad. If you hear me talk about my father, that is my stepfather. To me, that's father is that person who was there, and that's not a slight or shade at my dad or whatever, because I get confused on how I want to say that. But I want to make sure if you hear me talk about my father, that's my stepfather. He raised me. You hear me talk about my dad, that's my biological dad. Who we did develop a relationship. It's no shade at him. I love my dad, and I was glad we got a chance to do the relationship that we did at the end. Okay, so let me clear that out. So, but my father made the decision when I left the military and came back. I wish my mom would have let him deal with me more, and I wouldn't have been as rebellious as a kid, because I learned a lot, and I could have learned so much more from him. In hindsight, I see that. But my father, in terms of my father actually, he was the one when it's time to come back home, and I said I don't want to stay in the military. I know my mom was the one she was not the one that said you can't come back to this house. He made the decision, and I thank him for it. It made me stand up, and I'm thankful that my mom didn't fight him on that decision. And so those are the two reasons men in general don't want to. Yeah. Those are the two reasons.
Yeah. And I agree with those reasons.
Yeah. Those are good reasons.
And I say I get it. I did say it is hard
Mm-hmm.
for us as a mom and as women to do that, because I say it's not just hard for women with children and you're bringing somebody else in, or they have a step parent or a bonus parent. I don't like to use the word step, but a bonus parent. Um, to because we just who we are, that nourisher and protector of them. It's even hard. What I was going to say is it's hard when we have our own biological children sometimes for us to see you handle them a certain kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's even tough for a bonus parent or somebody else to come in and kind of, take that stand, take that place, discipline. But it's not all about discipline. And I think we see it a lot of times it's just that part or the bad part of it. But a lot of times they give so much more. But
Mm-hmm.
the only thing we really focus on is that discipline part
Is it
and
just?
how they handle them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And not the rewarding part or the good things or the positive things that can come from that relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's so much that, again, my stepfather, my father, if I'd have embraced more of it, I'd have knew even more than I know now. There's times when I'm doing stuff at the house and I was like, there go Patrick Donald, because he show up and just,
Right.
I remember things that he taught me. So there's not a whole lot I can't do if I put my mind to it because of how he raised me.
Right.
Um,
And then again, being sure of that man and his character and knowing that he intentionally is just a good, genuine person and he is not going to hurt that child.
yeah.
Knowing all of those things are very
But
important.
I think that that's a question that you're going to have all the way around. And while this is playing on the women right now,
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking about why men don't date women with children, I think it plays the other way around, particularly the mama sitting there. You call it baby mama drama, but she's saying, how's that lady treating my child? And
Mm-hmm.
she's being that defensive. And I think that's why y'all probably are more willing to engage in it, because y'all somewhat understand her
Mm-hmm.
until she becomes disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. So, Prophetess Thrower had asked when we were talking on the last segment, does that count for men who make decisions without consulting and then expect the help? I think that, yeah. I think when men make decisions, here's the thing that I found in marriage:
Mm-hmm.
both sides at some time are going to make decisions without consulting the other and then ask to help the bailout. When you're married, you should talk about the financial decisions. A lot of times we do not. We weren't trained that way, taught that way. You should talk about those financial decisions. But when we're married, it's not a I'm helping you out. It's a hey, you dug us in this hole, even though it might have just been your decision
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't consult me. How are we going to get out of this hole, and how are we not going to get back in this hole? So
Right.
I think it is, if we're both contributing to it, it's not a. I've heard stories of spouses going down, buying a whole car, came home with new car, and spouse look at them and say, I ain't helping pay a dime. Well, you can say that. But if you happen to end up paying the light bill more, putting more on the light bill because now their money is gone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Then you're helping.
Then you're helping.
Right.
You might not be making that actual payment, but you're helping. But so it's like, what are you gonna do? What are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna do if they don't have their part of the light bill? What are you gonna do?
Right.
Or and I say part of the light bill, but it's like some couples I know we do is like, hey, you're accountable for those things. Not so much from a you pay this bill, I pay that bill, but this is your accountability. This is my accountability. This helps take some of the weight off of each other, whatever, and knowing certain things are taken care of, all
Mm-hmm.
of that good stuff. But what are you gonna do?
Right.
I mean, you go through stuff such as this um,
Pandemic.
pandemic, you
Mm-hmm.
go through stuff, you got to step up and have each other back. There's no my money, her money, whatever. When the pandemic hit and you have no struggle, hey, what we got to pay?
Right.
Even if it's something that she normally took care of or I normally took care of, what do we have to pay? So
Mm-hmm.
how do we need to adjust? And I see,
Right. And it could not be just financially, but I was going to say when that happens, there definitely is a lack of communication, and it needs to be a conversation that you have about that.
mhm,
And, how you handle it is, hey, this is how this went down or happened. And you be truthful and honest about your feelings about it or whatever. And it is what it is. And how they take it and respond to it, of course, is how they do it. But for you, you said this is not what we agreed to or would want to do to continue. So you're like growing in the marriage and the relationship, and it's always conversations to be had.
Yeah.
I think it's just always conversations, and it just helps your communication. How are we communicating? And usually, if you continue to have an issue there, and with those things, you have a communication problem, or I just don't care problem.
Yeah, and
Right.
see now you and so you actually hit because Prophetess Thrower came back and said even if they continue to make decisions without you after you continue to help and you kind of hit it, it's like now there's a communication issue or there's a I don't care issue or there's a taken for granted issue.
Right.
And I do think that there has to
caring, considerate, and consistency.
Caring, considering consistency, and I do think that. That it is important. It is so important, that I'm gonna handle this just like infidelity to a degree, right? If a person keeps doing something wrong, you need to get to the why. And if we're not able to discover or really deal with the why, then you have to set boundaries that keep things safe.
I was going to say you have to set boundaries.
Yeah. And a
lot of times we don't set them early. So then we find ourselves in the middle, of marriage or 10 years, 15 years down the road going, it's a little harder to struggle. It's work, but you need to do it.
Yeah, you got to set those boundaries. And I don't have a problem with setting healthy boundaries. Listen, this is our budget. When you make decisions outside of our budget, these are the bills, the core bills. These need to be taken care of first. We need to be able to start setting towards this much in our savings. I know those are things that me and my wife, money is our most difficult conversation. And that's a whole nother episode of the why. Money is our most difficult conversation, but you have to start setting some level of boundaries around this is the budget. These are the things we know we got to take care of. Everything else is ancillary. And if you keep spending outside of the budget, if it's something that's outside of the budget, I'm unwilling to help. Mm-hmm. Even sometimes, even if we got to take a black eye, hey, well, if you don't do that, the car that you co-signed it on is going to have to go back. And it's going to have to go back. Let's shine it up before they get it.
Mm-hmm. I think if you can continue to have those issues, then that's when you bring outside help or coaching in, because somebody needs to talk or have that conversation to see where this other person is, that you don't consider your spouse, that they don't have a voice, they don't have a vote, you're not equal, and you're not the two being one.
Yes.
It's a problem.
Let me say this to husbands. Your home is your responsibility. You are the head of your home. That means if your home is failing, it is on your shoulders, not your wife. Even if she's contributing to the failure, society will say it is on you and not your wife. Do you have a right to ask for contribution and not to hurt the family? Yes, as does the wife. If your family is failing as a husband, it is your responsibility, okay, to the degree that you can be accountable. If your wife goes on a spending spree, robs the bank every time y'all get paid or whatever, you just keep doing your part, and eventually that's going to wear you out. I get it. But that it is your responsibility. Now, to the wife, I want to say this. To the wife, it is your responsibility to help multiply what is brought in the house. Mm-hmm. Y'all are usually more meticulous a lot of the times. I know at least for us or whatever. It's your responsibility to multiply what's coming into the house. But you are not a silent partner. Okay. Back to the husbands. Your wife is not a silent partner. She is a partner. She is a co-heir with you in leading and being fruitful and multiplying what is brought into your house. She is a co-heir. She is a partner. And that is how it is supposed to work. Now, there is a buck stops here moment, right? As a father, as a husband, I am ultimately accountable to God and accountable to society for the well-being of my family. I can remember when we hit some dire straits. And my mom's like, because we came from poverty at one point in our life, my mom was like, well, we can just apply. And my father, he wasn't having it. He went out and worked. He worked a full job in the heat at Department of Transportation, out in the heat, round tractors. Left at 5, would get home at 5 and then on the weekends he went and got a little oyster boat and he would go do oystering to get extra money. And oystering is hard work, but he refused to let us go get any benefits. I can remember when I first had to take free lunch. It's just like a poke in his belly. But we live in a rural county, so everybody was getting free lunch. It wasn't like that for the but it was like a poke in his. So as husbands, it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility to make sure that we're doing what we need to do, and that we remember the episode. And we talked about this, and there's a podcast on this. I can drop it for you again if you need to listen to it. Does your wife have a safe place to love on herself? As a husband, if I am not creating an environment where my wife has a safe place to love on herself, I am not doing a good job. I'm not doing a good job. And I strive to do that good job. I don't always hit that mark. I'm not talking from a place of perfection. But my job is to make sure that my wife has a safe place to love on herself. Okay? We're going to move on. We good? If you have any more questions, any more comments that you want us to address on the air, drop them down. We got to get some power couples. I'm seeing a couple couples on here that we definitely want to get y'all on and interview you, have this conversation. We can do it through Skype and bring you on air. So we'll make that happen. If you and your spouse are up for it, please reach out to us. You can email us at information@marriagerefresh.net, information@marriagerefresh.net, and we can make it happen. Or you can just hit us straight up on Messenger or something. However, you know how to get in touch with us.
Yes,
We all
love
over
to
social
have
media.
you.
Love to have you as guests. We want to hear from some other marriages. All right, let's get to this last thing. Let's get to pardon shots. So pardon shots is this. We talked about women saying, I didn't, what did it say? I didn't get, what's the name of the book? I didn't work this hard just to get married. Successful single black women speak out. Yeah, let's get to this. And then we talked about how, why men don't get married. Is it simple logic? Right. And we talked behind that. And we talked about why men don't date women with children. The real reason. And so let's get into these pardon shots. And it really is summed up in all this, thinking about those 3 rounds. Is it time to give up on marriage? My heart, my passion is to see marriages thrive. My heart and passion is to see marriages heal.
So give up on marriage, being in marriage, or give up on even wanting to be married? Give
up on even wanting to be married. Whether you're currently married, single, thinking about getting married, Marriage Refresh is for you. Do you even, like, my heart warms so much because I got a phone call not long before the show. One of the family members asking me about, some of my family asking me about doing pre-marriage education for them. And I'm like, you are starting in the right place because so many people do not get pre-marriage education. Mm-hmm. Think about Marriage Refresh. When reading an article in the Huffington Post, it talked about 8 reasons why people don't usually seek out pre-marriage education. Is they say one of them is that the counselors won't tell them the truth, and the counselors just keep stringing them along. That is not Marriage Refresh. If you shouldn't get married, we're going to tell you, you shouldn't get married. You're not ready. Either you shouldn't or you're not ready.
They get the truth and they don't want to accept
the truth.
And they want to do what they want to do anyway.
I'm just talking about who we are.
All right. Without doing the work. Not saying that it can't happen, but there's work to be done.
Yeah.
Because we'd rather help you on the front end than you get in it and you need it on the back end.
Let me tell you something right now. I'm going to say it live and on air. If, with Marriage Refresh being available to you, and you engage us, or been told to engage us, and you choose not to engage us, or you start engaging us, but the truth is too much because you want to do what you want to do, this might be bad advertising. But if you're going to head down that road and get married, and then things start happening that we told you are going to happen because you need to address it, don't call us.
He's kidding.
Don't call us. Don't call us. We are not into declaring arsonists. We are not into being referees. We are into prevention and education so that you can start your marriage off good. You're going to still have some bumps and bruises,
Oh
but we're
yeah.
trying to help you. We're trying to help. But if you reject our help, don't call. Go to
Right.
somebody else. Go to somebody else.
Right. Because even with coaching and premarital education or anything, nothing really prepares you for marriage but being in marriage.
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
helps. Everything helps, but nothing really prepares you for it. It's just something you have to walk in, walk through, walk out.
Yes. Yes. So here's where we at. So is it time to give up on marriage? And this is gonna sound weird coming from me, considering what we do.
What you just said.
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
not what I just. I stand 100% behind what I just said. I mean that. Don't. If we try and help and you just kind of push us to the side, and then when the house on fire, you want us to spend a whole bunch of time or whatever, you can't pay us enough. You can't pay us enough. You can't. I ain't got enough water to throw on it because we tried to prevent it. And I bring that through. I get that. I bring that through. TD Jakes is one that got me started. He said most people that come to marriage counseling after they married, they don't want no help. They don't want help getting it together. They just want you to tell them
Whose fault?
whose fault it is, who's the arsonist, who held the gasoline, and who held the match. Both of he said, and Jakes tickled me. He said, don't worry about it now. He said, light a stogie up and let it rip. And I'm with Jakes on that because that's the wrong time. Um, and so here's the thing that we say, and I see a question. I want to make sure that we get to this question because my brother Dubai watching, and we appreciate you, bruh. Salute.
Hey.
I'm gonna get to that, but here's the thing. So, is it time to give up on marriage? I think if you haven't gotten married, knowing what I know about marriage now, I'd do it again with you, but I don't know that I'd do it again. I just, I just, it's a lot, which means I'm gonna be doing a whole bunch of sinning.
Right. So.
Either I'm gonna get married just for sex, or I'm gonna be doing a whole bunch of sinning. I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
But marriage is honorable. When we do marriage right, it is honorable, but it's so hard to just stay honorable with it and to be encouraged by it at times because of you just hear all of the non and I'm talking about beyond infidelity and that type of thing because a lot of times we just boil it down to that. I'm just talking about basic what's the three things? Character, commitment, and consistency.
Caring,
Caring,
consideration,
consideration,
and consistency.
caring, consideration, and consistency. I'm just talking about just the basic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just the basic stuff that we don't seem to take the time, and all of us are guilty. All of us are guilty of it, and I mean, I. I'm just being real. I don't believe in pulling no punches. I'm being real, and it's a sad place to be. But I still do believe in marriage. I believe in what God put marriage here to do because I do believe that marriage is the reason, and the fact that marriages are that the earth is going crazy is I would think because marriages are not in place because God did not place man here to have dominion. God did not place woman here to have dominion. God placed marriage here to have dominion. And when you get that in your head, you understand that so much is wrong with the world. There's a statistic that's like 80% of incarcerated inmates come from a fatherless home. You know what I'm saying? You get all of this crazy statistics that tell you that it's supposed to be together. Husband and wife are supposed to be together and healthily together, not just being together and hating each other's gut and tearing up your furniture and going to the ER and lying about your feel and that's how you broke your wrist. None of that craziness. I'm talking about healthily together, creating a healthy environment. And even in that, because the world is so crazy, your child got an 80% chance of coming out great.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? A God-fearing home, you got an 80% chance because they got so much. So,
I think when you take your time and get married for the right reasons and knowing what marriage really is. And a lot of times, people just don't know. They
Right.
think it's about the wedding and the not really about the two becoming the one, just the two coming together
Yeah.
for whatever expectation in their mind, from even being a little girl or a little boy to adulthood.
Hmm.
What you have as your expectation, or you assume what marriage is, and not really knowing what marriage is, one, and getting married for those right reasons, and to say, we've been there,
Hmm.
you know, definitely been there, for me. So, just knowing what marriage is and doing it for the right reason and not the wrong reason.
Right.
And for me, is it time to give up on marriage? I don't think so. I say you should always be hopeful.
Yeah. What I think is, and so I'm gonna give you my real answer. I got off my soapbox.
Okay.
Here's my real answer. Is it time to give up on marriage? Yes. It's time to give up on marriage doing it our way.
Okay.
Is it time to it is time to reinvest in doing marriage God's way. It
I
really
agree.
is. That in doing it God's way means that we honor each other, we are partners in this, and our marriage collectively was put here in the earth to have dominion
Hmm.
in the earth. That's the truth. So Brother Pate said you should never give up on your marriage because you said the vow unto God as well as woman. So would you say it's okay for God to give up on you? And so, Brother Pate, when I say that about giving up, I think that again, if I was single, and hadn't met this fine specimen of a woman here and this intelligent lady right here and all that,
Aww.
that I don't know that I'd do it again, not knowing what I know. Because listen, as a husband, and you'll hear me say this if you're around me enough, as a husband, it's my job to get on the cross. Never her job to get on the cross. It's my job to get on the cross. And to some degree, it's her job to nail me to it. But her bigger job, when you hear me, is to show up at the tomb and celebrate the transformation that God is doing in her husband. Right? That's that's how I look at marriage. That's how I view marriage.
Yes.
It is my job. If there's a choice about who's got to sacrifice, it's always me. Who's got to die first for the betterment of the marriage? It's always me. It is never going to be her. I get on the cross first. God did not send a wife to carry the cross. He sent a husband to carry the cross. And then he sent a bride to tell the good news. That's how I look at marriage, right, wrong, or indifferent.
Hmm.
So,
And not
um,
to say that we don't make sacrifices
yeah,
or
not to
do.
say that y'all don't
Mhm.
make sacrifices,
Right.
but if there's a choice of who's making the sacrifice,
Hmm.
it's me. It's me. Um, I see Sister Brown from. Hey, listen. If you're on Instagram, make sure you check out my sister Yolanda Brown. We had an opportunity to
Yes.
be on with her a couple of times. Make sure you go and find Let's Talk About It.
Uh-oh.
SLR stands for Sex, Love, and Relationships. Listen, make sure you check her out. Doing some awesome things over there. She's
Thursday nights,
Thursday nights at 9
9
o'clock
p.m.
on Instagram Live. Go friend her page. Let's talk about it. SLR. I think you're going to enjoy it. We have. What it says is, she says, I disagree. Marriages until death do us part. Some marriages die. I agree. Some marriages die. It is till death do us part. I want to talk about something because Brother Pate talked about the vows, and we getting close to the time, and I want to get to this question. He talked about the vows. One of the things, and we'll tell you, listen, you can go. We have an exercise that we do in our pre-marriage and marriage education that we call Every Room in the House. It
Hmm.
is a great communication exercise. You can go to our website and pick it up in the store. So it says it's really good. If you need us to explain it after you see it, we'll be happy to do that. So let me see. Sister Brown also says, Yolanda Simone says, when a marriage has died, you have nothing to hold on to. When you stay beyond your time, it creates toxic issues for yourself. I would agree with that to a degree. If I look at it strictly scripture, unless there's some abuse, infidelity, that type of thing going on, God calls me to stay there until either He resurrected or he ends it himself. He takes care of it. But something just dies. I see that. And this is what I want to say. This is what I want to say. Oh man, yeah, this is what I want to say. So when it comes down to marriage, um, you really have to look at it and say, because I'm going back to Brother Pate comment, and this is true. This is how we teach. When I make a vow, I do not make a vow to my wife. I didn't make that vow to her. I wish I'd have known this earlier. I didn't make that vow to her. She didn't make that vow to me. I made a vow to God about his daughter. And Pate hit that. He said, you made a vow to God and you made a vow to that woman. I didn't make a vow to her. I told God, I'm going to take care of your daughter. I wasn't talking to her. When she said it to me, she said, God, I'm going to take care of your son. She wasn't talking to me. We often say those vows to each other. Once I start looking at it from that regard, I have to be, before anybody gets a divorce, I want you to hear this loud and clear. If you're thinking about divorce, you're on the verge of divorce, I want you to ask this simple question before you walk away. And this goes back to something Yolanda's saying, some Brother Pate saying, this is all I say. If you ask us, well, should I divorce a marriage refresh to be David? Should I divorce him? Here's the only thing we'll ask you. Did you consult God? And did you do everything that God asked you to do for the healing of your marriage his way? Did you consult God? Did you do everything that God told you to do to heal your marriage his way? I've heard too many testimonies of women and men who went through things. I remember Tony Evans gave testimony about his wife and how his diligence converted her and how she was mean, whatever to him. All of that type of stuff and how it converted him. And I've heard so many stories that when they were like, they was almost done. But when they finally did not only what God said, but did it his way, God moved in their marriage. And if you say that you've done everything that God asked you to do, and you've done it his way and you're at peace, walk away. Who am I to tell you that you can't walk away?
Right.
But if you walk away without having done everything he told you to do his way, expect to hear from the Father.
And I think you just have to really think about, did he join you two? Was it purpose? What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Did he really join you together, or did you join you together? So those are all questions that you really have.
And I see a friend on here commenting, and she said something. She don't know that, like, she said something one time that really, like, just transformed how I even think even more about marriage. It's like, I get my one marriage. If you could only say this, I'm finna get crazy with you. I promise you, we finna get to the question. We're gonna get to the question. And get the last words from my wife before we get to the question. If here's the thing. If when she said it to me, it made me think about this. What if you truly, seriously, God says you get married, you get one marriage only, and if you get a divorce for anything other than infidelity and spousal domestic violence, everything dry up. I ain't gonna take the desire from you, but you're gonna still want to have sex. You can't do it. I'm gonna dry it all up, right? Would you still have married the person you with? Right? That's one thing. And then would you leave as easy? I believe that if everybody went into a mentality that, and third thing, somebody died, and I don't know, people might start killing folks. But anyway, here go the thing, is I believe that if you heard from God, he came down, oh, listen, if you marry this one person, you never get another marriage unless there's cheating or abuse or death, and he did all that or whatever. I think fewer people would get married on the humbug. And I definitely think fewer people would walk away from their marriage without trying everything.
Right.
Yeah, so that's just my take. Anything else you wanna get, honey, before I move on? Cause yeah,
No, I think a lot of times we just don't take it as serious as we should. And I remember standing up to the altar that day, which we was already married at that point anyway, and it kind of like a light bulb went off. Marriage is not to be taken lightly,
Yeah.
and you know, you thinking like, oh my God, am I taking this lightly? Have I gotten all the things I needed to get, the coaching,
Yep.
you know, really communicated and talked and say, hey, is this what I'm supposed to do? And is this the one for me? God, I think a lot of times we don't do those things. Not to say that some marriages just aren't made to work or,
Didn't consult God before it, and you got to wait for God to release you from it.
right. And when
Yeah.
He releases you, not to say you can't move on and be, have a successful marriage or do whatever, because I think that happens all the time,
Right. Exactly.
because we serve a loving, forgiving, merciful God.
Yep. That's true. All right. So we're going to get into Ask Marriage Refresh. Ask Marriage Refresh. Let's see what we got here. Ask Marriage Refresh. So, um, here's the question that we received, right? It says, "Hello, Marriage Refresh. When my husband and I first met, we both were not really serious about our faith. I was raised Christian, but not really practicing, and he was raised Christian, but exploring Islam. Since we have married, both of us have taken our faith and beliefs more seriously, and all has been well. I grew closer to Christ, and he grew closer to Allah. But now we have a child on the way and are discussing how we will raise our child. We love each other very much, but I'm afraid this will drive us apart. Do you have any suggestions on how we should handle this issue moving forward? Signed, prayerfully hopeful." I'm gonna let you start, honey. I didn't start all the other. No, no, no. I'm gonna let you start, babe.
You don't want to start this
No,
one?
I don't want to
Okay.
start this one, girl.
For me, I was telling you the issue with answering this question is, and you know how I am, it's a deal breaker for me. So we not married.
Okay, but they married now.
Right, and I
So
get that,
so
and I'm really trying to, because for us, I mean, that's like top of the list. If we not on the same page, there is no marriage. But I think they still have to respect each other's their worship and their religious ways and beliefs.
but how the child gonna be raised?
Then that's something they have to talk about, communication. I've heard couples that actually goes they are being raised both in both. Yeah, they give them a little bit of his, give them a little bit of hers, and then let them make the kid make that choice for themselves once they get old enough to do so.
Hmm, that's
So
interesting.
that would probably be my suggestion,
That's interesting. That's interesting.
that the child make that decision.
Yeah. This is an interesting dynamic for me because I definitely, if you, because I can see this, neither one of you is really serious about it. You just kind of were going through the motions and whatever. Um, you'll understand that the marriage is dead because they unequally yoked. Uh, ooh,
Yeah, not yeah.
so this was hot, right? So here's my thing is this is difficult because now you have a child. Now I can go back to scripture and I can tell you why God told Solomon or David told Solomon about not pursuing um, um,
Why?
pursuing wives that weren't of their ilk and their beliefs because it's like they'll turn their hearts away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Religion, or not even religion, shows statistics show that the child, in most instances, will become the religion of the mother. In
Mm-hmm.
most instances, because they're going to spend the most time with the mother. Particularly for the female, she's going to become more what her her mother is, and even the son. Most of the time, the child converts to whatever religion or belief system the mother has. This particular, and I might be going too theologically deep here, this particular one is really tricky because with with Islam, there are and a lot of Christians don't like to admit this because they haven't really studied their Bible and hadn't read the Quran. There are a lot of similarities and even books from the Bible that are a part of the Quran and a part of Islamic belief. So where the two really separate is at Jesus. Just like almost all other religions, we differ on Jesus to a degree. Some of the other ones. Morgan Freeman, I can't remember God and Us or something on Netflix. Really, really good series if you're into just learning about just all the dynamics of the different religions and different things. And it makes you examine your beliefs even more and what you believe in once you learn what other people believe in.
Right.
So here's the thing. So is Islam in this particularly, and even if you said Jewish, Islam, and Christianity have very close ties. They all differ. Their dissecting area is Jesus. So now, if I look at these things, there are people, even in Islam, they hold Jesus to be um, they hold Jesus to be a great prophet, right? But they don't hold him to be the savior of humanity. So I think it even gets more difficult because you can teach them fundamentally the same things up until you get to Christ. And then that's where the conflict's going to come in. There are some couples that I've heard that have successfully navigated this. I think my qualm would be is if I'm the Christian and she's the Islam practicing Islam, is my cry is going to be, and probably her cry in reverse. She's going to be lost because she hasn't accepted Christ. And if I hadn't practiced all the tenets of Islam, I'm going to be lost. So I think there's going to be a genuine concern for each other that can actually draw you closer together. But I think it eventually, there's going to be something, that drives you apart.
Definitely.
There's going to be something that drives you apart. Now,
especially when you come to, because a lot of times you can agree to disagree or respect each other's religious beliefs till the children come, and then it starts to be like, oh, what are we going to teach our kids? And then that's where it really blows up and gets crazy.
And now, see, we've gone far on the sculpture. This one is really, 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 really out there because it's so vastly different. But this even happens within Christianity. I was raised Baptist. I was raised Pentecostal. How are we going to raise the children?
That's true.
That conflict still exists. Hey, Miss Brown, we got to talk because you keep on talking about this growing apart thing. And I wish I could invite you on the screen like right now, and I can't. But we got to talk about this growing apart thing because I think you and I have some differing opinion on that. I won't even say conflicting, but I like to hear your voice on it, on this growing apart, because I hear that growing apart a lot, and that brings me to a whole nother thing. But anyway, let me get back. Pate says, it can work because Muslim and Christian believe in the Most High, which is God. The Quran isn't that much different from the King James Bible. Religion don't make you different. The individual does. Okay, I can see that. I can see that, Brother Pate. I think you're gonna have your challenge. It really does believe how you navigate it. But I think that, like I said, I think the differences could potentially draw you closer together only in that I care for each other. Now, I will say this. And some Christians about to get mad with me on here. The level of reverence that Muslims have for their faith and for God is staggering because we have whole episodes by Tyler Perry and the like that make fun of biblical things, and we get good comedy out of it. He could never do that in Islam. He would die. He would under threat of death. He could never do that in Islam. And so they honor their God completely different than we do. So, but I digress. That's a spiritual topic for another time. But I think that it's important that that they talk. And I do agree. And Chandra said this, and we've said it throughout. this is where consulting God before you enter into marriage in the
Oh,
covenant
definitely.
becomes important. This is where having true, heartfelt conversations and being honest. And I know the heart gets tangled up, and sometimes it's hard to walk away. But before you get married, it's the time to walk away. After you're married, you got to figure out how to make it work.
Right. Equally, being yoked is very important, and I think that should be at the top of the list. And that's not just for our faith or our beliefs, because there's other things that can make us unequally yoked. But that
Yes.
should, and a lot of times people just leave it at the religious aspect or our beliefs and our faith, but it's much more than that, being unequally yoked. But that being number one and at the top of the list, that you definitely should consult and have that conversation before you ever even enter marriage. And a lot of people even talk about if they are different, have different beliefs or religions, they talk about how they would raise their kids,
Yes. Yeah.
before they even go there. So some even have that conversation about how the kids will be raised and what faith that they would take on before they get married.
Yeah.
So,
There's a good book.
But I was just saying, for me, that wasn't an option.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. There is a good book that I read that's called Searching for Allah, Finding Jesus, and it really is a book that just really goes all in about a Muslim who went on this journey and converted from Islam over to Christianity after finding true Christianity. Let me say this and hurt some theologians' feelings here as well. The Christianity we exercise in America, because we believe that it came from a certain segment of the population, you really need to go on the other side of the globe and you'll find out a whole lot more about this walk that we profess that we're doing that will change and open your eyes, or just talk to some people from that side of the globe that will give you some perspective. So, done with that. That's it. That's it. We are at the end of our show. We are thankful for you guys. We stayed on here definitely longer than we intended to. The conversation, the comments that you guys were dropping in there was, I mean, just more and more. We're looking forward
Thanks
to
for your feedback, for your questions.
yeah, your feedback, your questions. Remember, if you have a question that you want us to answer online or live on the set, not only when we're live, you can drop them here, but you can also email us at information@marriagerefresh.net, and we'll be happy to get your question on the show. And we won't call your name out when you send it in. We won't call your name out, but we will be happy to get it on the show and answer your question. So that's all we have. Do you have anything else?
No, I was just going back up to see what we talked about. So don't give up on being married
Don't give up on being married. Once you get
or
married,
on marriage
yeah,
if you're already in
the
marriage
single folks,
and you're struggling.
bless your heart. Yeah, if you're already married, listen, get to somebody you can talk to. Okay. And I'm gonna go back to my comment, girl. We gotta talk. We gotta talk. When you say we can grow apart, because here's the thing: if you ever outgrow somebody or y'all grow apart, y'all were never together in the first place. You might disagree with that, and that's why I'm looking forward to us talking about this. But you're not really together in the first place because that outgrowth already existed. It just took a while for it to materialize.
Catch up.
Yeah, and sometimes you overlooked it before you even got into it, in that thing right there. So, yeah, we love you guys. We're happy. We're glad that we were able to get on to the get on and have a good time with you guys. And listen, we love you. We will be on here. We're trying to be here. Yolanda, I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to. I'm ready. I'm ready. Just let me know when we're ready. I will bring you on, girl. I'm ready. Uh, but we just want you to really know we'll be here. Our goal is to be here every Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, shooting the show. Share the video. Share the video. Share the video, share it with somebody. Hopefully it'll help someone. You've helped us. We hope we've helped you. And this has been another episode of Marriage Refresh TV.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining
Thank you
us
for your
so
time.
much. And thank you for your time. God
Good
bless.
night.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Command 3. Good night.